Welcome to the Hyperpolyglot Activist. Learn languages, make a difference. My name is Dr. Carlos Yebra Lopez, and today I'm going to walk you through the academic resources that I just uploaded on my website. Now, as you may know, Hypia Research went on a pivot a couple of weeks ago. If you haven't watched that video, please click in the link that you can see on top of the screen. But essentially, the idea is that we went from monthly meetings to uploading a list of academic resources on some of the most important topics on polyglotsia from a critical perspective, so people can do the readings on their own. And then if they have questions, if they would like to pursue a topic more, then they can book a consultation with me. I think this is a much better approach because, let's face it, people do not read enough in general in society, but in particular when it comes to the polyglot community, which is part of society, hence why it carries over that tendency. And so it's easy to find people who will say, well, I feel like, or I know somebody who did this, did that. This is all feelings, anecdotal, personal evidence. This is not research. If you want to understand a phenomenon, you need to do the research. You need to do the time-consuming reading and reach your own conclusions. If you don't approach the topic from a systematic perspective and put in the hours and ask yourself questions and seek answers that move forward your knowledge about the topic, you will not learn about it. And so in order to help you out in this journey, I put together this list of academic resources, and it is my pleasure to walk you through them. So let me share the screen. And as you can see on the screen, we are on the hyperpolyglotactivist.com, which is the only tab you should ever open. And now we're in a position to access the sources. So we click on sources on polyglotsia, and here you go. The first one is Accentism. So we have the video on speaking without an accent is like typing without a font, which is a good analogy to understand that everybody speaks with an accent, meaning with an intonation, so that we shouldn't discriminate between people with accent and people without accent, which is absurd, right? Rather, there are people with more or less standardized accents. Granted, this is just a video popularizing this idea. And so if you want to delve deeper into that, you will go to the text by Kreinik, Do You Have an Accent? Right? And there's also a website, the Accentism Project, etc. If you haven't noticed this, every time I upload a video discussing a topic, below the video in the description, you have a number of academic and other types of sources that you can consult on your own. It's not just me improvising and talking about my feelings and about a person I met the other day on the street. This is about systematic research. I go through the literature, I select the best sources, I distill the most important information, and I try to convey in as clear a fashion as I can to you so that everybody can understand the content regardless of their background. But then also, if they want to delve into the content, they can go through the sources themselves. Second topic, endangered language revitalization. Yes, I have the video on how to revive a language, which is an interview with Professor Gilad Zuckerman. But if you really want to get deep into the concepts, you will need to acquire the book Revitalistics, from the genesis of Israeli to language reclamation in Australia and beyond, right? And you can just order it here on the website. And even prior to ordering it and adding it to the basket, it's not really expensive, is it? You can go through the table of contents, author information, etc. This is the basics of language revitalization nowadays. We close that window. Of course, there's also the Endangered Languages Project website, which I highly recommend, particularly in conjunction with this Atlas of the World's Languages in Danger, where you can see exactly in what continents, which countries are there endangered languages. Third topic is decolonial linguistics. Many people don't know about the difference between colonial, post-colonial, and decolonial approaches to languages, which is absolutely paramount. And so if you're not sure about that difference, or you think you know the difference but don't know how to explain it, which is basically the same, then you can go first through that video that I made called Decolonizing the Modern Foreign Language Curriculum. And then you will need to go deep into the textual source, which is Colonial and Decolonial Linguistics, an edited volume published in 2021. Again, you have the link here. You can order the book. This is one of the best books and most informative ones I've ever read on this topic, so I highly recommend it. I've quoted in many of my articles. And then we have the fourth topic, Esperanto. This is a topic apropos which many people have an uncritical perspective. They think that they're learning, and you can see this in, for instance, in Easy Esperanto, right? The YouTube channel. It has equivalences in Easy German, Easy French, etc. So there's a series called Easy Esperanto. Now, if you go there and watch the videos, when people are asked, why do you study Esperanto? Almost all of them provide really vague answers, which prove to me that even though they might be fluent in the language, they don't really understand all the language ideologies that have informed discourse on Esperanto since its inception, which is really important to know, right? So again, you can enter this discussion by clicking on the video here, the Hyperpolyglot Activists, the Fascinating Ideologies of Esperanto, which is basically a summary of this article here, plus my twist, my personal take on it, after having done the reading, not just speaking spontaneously about it, right? So if you want to go to the textual source, which I suggest you do, you will go to this article by Federico Gobo, Beyond the Nation State, and here you can download it for free in PDF, right? Okay. Now, number 5, flags not representing languages, right? This is famously a video that I made, why flags do not and should not represent languages. And then again, you will have to delve into the idea of banal nationalism to really understand how flags are used to stand for languages with what socio-political implications, right? And then a more intuitive and brief way of going about this is to also consult the website's Flags Are Not Languages. But if you really want a more systematized analysis, you will have to read the whole article. Okay. Again, there are no shortcuts to really understanding the topic. That's the idea I want you to really grasp. Don't try to cut the corners. If you really want to understand a certain topic, you have to go deep down the rabbit hole. And you have to put in the effort and the hours. Now, on polyglossia or hyperpolyglossia, you have this video of what exactly is the difference between a multilingual individual opposed to a polyglot or versus a hyperpolyglot. And also, why do we do what we do? Why do we learn languages at all? And what are the constraints of the polyglot industry, right? Key term, industry. Google that. Now, textual sources that back that content up. We have a wonderful article by the director of HYPEA, Dr. Usman Shohan, who is a hyperpolyglot. I strongly suggest you read that article. And then, of course, we have a whole book called Babel No More. I do not think this book is as critical as it could be when it comes to analyzing polyglossia and hyperpolyglossia, but it's nonetheless very informative. And it has interesting remarks on, say, why do we not think in any given language? Why there's no such a thing as a language in which we think or dream, but rather a language of thought, and other very interesting ideas. Of course, the HYPEA website, which you need to familiarize yourself with, and you can apply if you qualify. If you speak 6 or more languages, you're very welcome to apply to become a hyperpolyglot, and this very website, the Hyperpolyglot Activist. Now, number 7, language learning versus language acquisition. People say, oh, I want to learn a lot of languages. Now, do you really want to learn them, or would you rather acquire them? Because there is a stark difference that you need to familiarize yourself with. I explained the very basics in this video, but then again, if you want to check the theoretical framework that informs this video, you will have to go through the author himself, who is Stephen Krashen, right? Who presents his thoughts in this PDF that you can read here. Now, linguicide, or the killing of languages, because languages do not just disappear, they actually die because of socio-political influences, which is why we say that languages are killed, right, rather than dying. So you have the video here summarizing the ideas, but if you want to understand the whole context, go read this book, which is in French originally, Linguistic Colonialism. I think it has been translated into English, but don't quote me on this. If you can read it in French, go ahead. Number 9, native speakerism, one of the most controversial, interesting, and fascinating topics of our time. On the supposed existence of native speakers, check this video. On the supposed superiority of L1 speakers over non-L1 speakers, check this second video. And then again, if you want to go through the theoretical frameworks that inform both videos, this article, Native Speakerism by Adrian Holiday, is very, very brief, but at the same time revealing, shocking. It will shake the foundations of your prejudices on non-native and native speakers. So I really recommend it, and it can be read in less than an hour. And then if you want the more sophisticated, intellectualized analysis, then you can acquire the book Not Like a Native Speaker, Languaging, as opposed to language, as a post-colonial practice. This is one of the best books I've ever read on this topic, and it was published by Columbia University Press. Fascinating one, fascinating one. Now, finally, we have translanguaging. Again, many of the topics we discuss in this YouTube channel go back to translanguaging. So if you don't really understand translanguaging, you won't be able to understand much of my criticism of a standard language ideology, or of code switching, or of native speakerism. You need to know the tenets, the foundations of translanguaging as a paradigm, as a disruptive, dare I say, paradigm, for you to make sense of much of the critique that informs this YouTube channel. So go to this video where I juxtapose code switching with translanguaging, explaining the basic conceptual differences and ideological implications. And once you've done that, go to this article, which is to be read slowly. Do take your time to read this article. It has around 25 to 30 pages, but really it can take you hours, days, even years to understand some of its most important concepts. And you shouldn't be embarrassed by that. If you aspire to understand a topic, you need to read it slowly, and you need to read the same texts over and over and over again. And each time you read them, you'll be able to appreciate different nuances, to improve on your knowledge about the subject, and to realize about things that you didn't notice on previous occasions. So rather than reading a lot, you need to be very selective and aim for quality and read not as much, but a lot of times. Once you've found a high quality resource, hold on to it and read it slowly, but steadily, making notes and asking questions whenever you don't understand something. So this is one of those type of articles on ResearchGate here, clarifying translanguaging. I hope this walkthrough was useful to you. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments down below. And as always, thanks for watching.